We're here at the Navy League Sea Airspace 2024 conference, and the theme of this year's conference is Integrated Maritime Power. We're hearing that manifest itself in a couple different ways from some of the panelists so far during the show. We had the service chiefs speak on Monday about some of the dynamics they're seeing between the military services and industry. That's one of the types of integration that they're really focused on right now. Between the Navy, the Coast Guard, and the Maritime Administration, they're really asking industry to perform a historic amount of shipbuilding right now. It's something that shipbuilding companies and their supply chains don't have the capacity for yet, but they're trying to build up to. And so that collaboration between government and industry is one of the things that the service chiefs spoke about during the Monday panel.
It's really important that we work with our industry partners. You can see the demand signal for the larger Navy that we have out there. We have 88 ships under contract. We have 66 under construction. There's 57 if you look across the fit up. We know we need a larger Navy. Every study since 2016 has shown that. And I think the most effective way to work on that right now is to invest in our industrial base, invest in the workforce, invest in alongside our industry partners in the infrastructure necessary to really set the conditions to speed up the production and the throughput of the ships and submarines really that we need to get more players on the field. So if you look ahead, I think you'll see that that is really a demand signal that we're sending in our budget.
Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Lisa Franchetti talked about the billions of dollars of investments that the government is making to build up facilities. The idea is that suppliers can be invested in, prime yards can be invested in, such that they have a greater workforce and larger facilities to increase their output. But she said that these investments might take years to come to fruition just because it takes time for Congress to appropriate the money. It takes time for the money to lead to actual construction at the yards. And so in the meantime, she's really focused on the readiness of the current ships. She said it was very important for the ship repair industry to focus on on-time performance. That way today's ships can be more active in the fleet, which allows time for these investments in the ship construction side to come through.
We do need a larger Navy. And again, every study since 2016 has said that we need a larger Navy. And so collectively, we all need to focus on that. But the more important thing right now is having a ready Navy. So, when you talk about more players on the field, that really is ready players on the field. So again, if you have platforms, but they don't have the munitions or they don't have the people to be able to operate them, and then deliver that lethality, that is not the capability that we want to have. So in this decisive decade, really focus on the readiness as we continue to invest in that infrastructure that is going to set the conditions to really accelerate our shipbuilding as we go forward.
On the Coast Guard side, Commandant of the Coast Guard, Admiral Linda Fagan, talked about looking to commercial off-the-shelf ideas, which is a little bit unusual in shipbuilding. The Coast Guard needs a new heavy icebreaker, and they're just getting started on their program this year. However, we need an icebreaker now. There's only one in the fleet, the Polar Star. It's very old. There's only one. There's no redundancy. And so the Coast Guard was actually given money to look at a commercially available icebreaker that they could buy now to get some extra capability into the fleet to buy more time until the Polar Security Cutter is ready to join the fleet.
Our 24 appropriation included money for a commercially available icebreaker, so that will allow us to bring some ice-capable ship into the fleet sooner than the timeline for construction for Polar Security Cutter. We're on contract and budget for Polar Security Cutter and working hard to get to the detailed design maturity necessary to begin cutting steel, and the intent is to do that this year. It is important to remember that we are an Arctic nation, right? We've got incredible, national sovereignty and security interest in the Arctic. We have a large exclusive economic zone, and creating actual presence with ice-capable ships is critical to our national security.
As government and industry leaders spoke about their ongoing workforce challenges, several speakers discussed the need to focus on recruiting women and even younger girls to pursue STEM field studies and to potentially think about careers in shipbuilding and the military ship industry.
5% of the U.S. maritime industry is women, and yet 54% of the population is. So there's a concerted effort to bring more players into the game in the maritime world so that people understand what this lifestyle can be like. And I liken it to the Navy. When you pull in from deployment, you have duty the next day. Be here at 7:30 or you're going to be late. If you work in the maritime industry, you can sail for a certain period of time and then you're off and you may have to do some training, but you don't come back on until you choose to. It's a different kind of lifestyle. You can live wherever you want in the world. When you're on, you're on. When you're off, you're off.